All right. Well, welcome to the Appointing the Wise podcast. I'm Caleb Barker. And before we get into it, I want to just give a big thanks to Broodbox here in Brigham City on Main Street. They're letting us record here today. They have for their business, they have rooms for content creation and amenities. They've got a conference room and they've got hot desk rentals. And so if you're interested in any of that, give them a call. They've been very kind to the podcast and hopefully things go well with that.
They're good people too.
Good people. Agreed. Yeah, I know the owner, and she is very good. Yes, agreed. Today I've got Matthew Jensen here as a guest. Thanks for being here, Matt.
Thank you for doing this.
Appreciate it. He's running for city council here in Brigham City, and here's what I learned about you. Sorry, I got some notes here. So Matt Jensen, looking at some things I was able to find online, he's a tax accountant. He's born and raised here in Brigham City. He has a bachelor's in accounting and master's in business administration, both from Utah State University. He is part of the board for the Kiwanis Club, as well as he's been there for 10 years and 4 years on the Family Support Center. And then he enjoys reading and sports. And then we'll let him talk any more about that as we do the interview. So here we go. I guess just to start us off, tell us who you are and what you would like voters to know about you.
Okay. Well, I'm Matt Jensen. Like Caleb said, I was born and raised here in Brigham City. My family, I grew up here, went to Box Elder. I have a degree in accounting. I've been on the city council for 4 years. And I think the biggest thing that I worry about on there is our fiscal responsibility. Just a little background. When I first ran, I was an auditor of the city. As from my business, my job, I audited the city for about 5 or 6 years. And so I got in and I understood the finances and I dug through all that.
And that was like a third party role, right?
Mhm.
You're just part of your business as a tax accountant.
As an employee from my job,
Okay.
Davis and Boss here in town, we were engaged by the city to audit them. And so I did that for about 5 or 6 years. And that's what really got me interested in running for city council. Once we were no longer their auditor, I was able to do that because we were now independent. So I ran for city council because it interests me. The financial workings of the city, I think, are fascinating of everything that's going on. I did not know very much about the public works side of things and how big that is. And so I had a lot to learn on that side and the legal issues and things too. Those were where I was a little bit short when I first came in, but the financial side, I think I was a stronger candidate than most. I still do audits of about 5 other cities. And so I really understand the financial background of cities. I think that's my strong point.
Yeah, that's good to know. I think that gets into the experience that we're going to be talking about later. That sounds very practical knowledge as far as making sure things work well. So perfect. You might touch on this a little bit, but why are you running? Right. I guess maybe another way of saying this is you've done it for, is it just one term so far?
One term so far.
And now you're having another go at it.
I enjoy it. Really. I love getting in and the workings of the city and what's going on and how things work. I love working with the people. And I think also, what can I do to make people's lives better? If I had to pick something that I wish that people knew in the city, I see things online all the time about you guys don't realize how this is affecting us. But I live here too. My family lives here too. My mom, my brother, they live here too. And I do know how it affects us. I think people think that
One quiz you up sometimes, be like, what are you doing, Matt? And
absolutely no, every Sunday dinner. I get that, but I see comments online that think that we're not part of the city, but we are. And I wish if there's one thing people knew, that it's everything we vote for, it hits us too. And that's one thing I wish people knew a little bit better.
Or better understood, right? That's fair. I think that's fair. So if you are reelected, what are your top 3 priorities? You mentioned, what'd you say? Financial responsibility.
Financial responsibility is the number one. One of the things when I ran is the bridge was just starting. And so I said, I want to make sure we got a $30 million grant. What are we doing with that? And like I said, I was an auditor. So I worry about where's our spending going. And it's kind of funny if you see the meetings when you guys don't see the closed sessions, but if anytime they approach us and say, hey, I want to spend some money on this, I'm always the first one to say, where are you going to get the money? Right? Because it doesn't grow on trees. We get that. And we have long discussions, sometimes till 11, 12 at night after the city council and the closed sessions on what's the plan or where are we going to do with the money. So fiscal responsibility is a big one for me.
Okay. And then before you dive into number 2, this may be in the future podcasts, maybe I'll interview city council members because I think it'd be nice to have some vision into that aspect of what goes on there, because you're right, our vision is very limited. But even as far as the role that you have, you enjoy it. That's why you do it. but it's very time consuming. Is that right? Like, how many hours a week would you say you're dealing with city stuff outside of
That's a good
family and all
question.
that kind of thing? Because I know you don't make a lot of money or you're not compensated a lot for having the role, and so I just didn't know what that looks
Right.
like.
And honestly, it's kind of funny when we were talking about the compensation. When most of us ran, we didn't know there was compensation. Like I just ran because I wanted to do it. And then they told, "Oh, you get paid some." Okay, well, that's
It's almost
something.
nothing though, right? I mean,
It,
it's there.
yeah, yeah, about 8 grand or so. It's not much. So we get a packet the week before of what's going on in city council meeting. It's sometimes it's 100, 200 pages long because it shows the detail of everything that's on the agenda. And
Okay.
some of them are quick, like if we're hiring new employees, I mean, that's a quick read. Some of them are the detailed plans for a change in our ordinances. So that takes a little longer because you've got to compare the old ordinance and the new ordinance. And then some of them are every development that we have, or when someone wants to build something, you go through all the plans that the planning commission's already put in and things like that. And so, yeah, sometimes it's time consuming, but I have time. I haven't missed a meeting other than when I had COVID. And I value what this people do. I think it's important.
Absolutely. So is that like a 10-hour commitment for the week? 20?
I wouldn't say 20 hours. No,
Okay.
no, I
Somewhere
don't
between
read.
like
I don't read
5 and
that
15,
slow. I
maybe?
sound words out, but and it depends on the week. Sometimes it's smaller, sometimes it's more. But 5 hours some weeks.
Would that include your meetings? Because I know city council itself
No,
is like 3 hours, right?
yeah, I just book out a Thursday night every other week, so that's worth it.
All right, fair enough. That's good to know. I appreciate that kind of inside look.
Like I said, it interests me. So if it's something you're interested in, the time isn't as big a deal. If you like to do puzzles or whatever, you can spend hours doing that or things like that. So whatever your hobby is,
You have kids?
I don't.
You don't have kids. I was like, that's what
That's where I get the
that's
extra.
why I can't go to the music. That's what I've said. That would add up.
Yeah, I'm not going to soccer games
Yeah.
and practices and
Cleaning the
stuff.
house, changing
So,
diapers, all that stuff.
yeah,
That's fair. Okay.
yeah.
All right. And then okay, so what would you say priorities 2 and 3 might be then?
Number two, like I said, I live in the city. All my friends live in the city. My neighbors live in the city. I want to make people's lives better. And I think we've done that. Sometimes people don't see that, but
Mhm.
we've done a lot of things that I think impact people's lives for the better. I know everybody sees the tax rate increases or things like that, but we try and keep things down. I read something that said the reason people live in cities is because they like the services. You like having parks, you like having paved roads, you like having a senior center. I mean, we like police, we like fire. You could go live out in the middle of Park Valley or the county or something
Mhm.
and not have as good of services. But I mean, that's life. People live in cities because they like the services. So I want to make sure those services are providing a good return on the investment.
Okay.
I mean, we pay a lot of money for those services, and so I think we do get really good service benefits. I mean, we have police, we have fire. I look at some of the things going on around the country, and I'm glad I live here.
Yeah, that's fair. So when you say, let's see, you'd said, I can't remember verbatim, but something like helping people or helping things be better for people. Does that sound about
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah.
so when you're looking at better, like
So like
what are you
those
using
services,
as a,
if we can get those services for cheaper, I
Mhm.
think that helps you.
What kind of services
So for
what are a couple
example,
examples? Yeah.
anything, and I always like I don't want to bag on past councils or past mayors because I wasn't there and I wasn't in their situation. But here's a good example: is we just reworked the deal with Manaway for their sewer. They were paying 20% less than a Brigham City resident. Why? So our budget is less because they're paying. And now I know they have to maintain their own sewer lines, but their sewer comes into ours, and it's the same as if your sewer is.
Oh, they're paying us to service their sewer
Right.
stuff, and they're paying less than
And they pay less than you do. So why should a Manaway resident pay less than you?
they shouldn't.
Right. Now that's been the way for 40 years.
Unless you're competing, right? Unless you're talking about free market and they can go to some other
No
town or something.
competition.
Right. So
No.
then I can't think of one.
I think their reasoning was, well, they need the money to maintain their own lines, but that doesn't have anything to do with our lines.
Right.
They dump stuff into our sewer.
We don't need to subsidize them.
Right.
They can figure out their own.
So if we renegotiate that deal and it's fair for everybody, now we charge them the same as you, then you're not subsidizing them. We've been doing the same thing with the animal control. So our animal control shelter's full. Half the animals don't come from Brigham City, but all the money comes from Brigham City. So we finally said to other communities, look, we can't do this anymore.
Oh.
You can either pay us.
Yeah. If anything, it should almost be the other way around. Brigham gets the discount and the others can pay a little bit more.
Exactly. So
Egregious more.
when you're paying, you're subsidizing them.
Yeah.
Is that fair to you?
No. Nope.
Exactly. And the same thing with the fire and ambulance. So we just reworked the fire and ambulance deal, and we're trying to make it so that other communities have to pay their fair share.
Right.
My pet peeve is the Bear River Conservancy District, the Water Conservancy District.
Okay.
So when I bought my house 12 years ago or so, it was $5 tax on your tax. I think now it's over 50.
And tell me about what that is.
They take your money.
Okay.
They take your money and they send it out to do projects. Their mandate is anywhere in the county.
Anywhere in Box Elder.
Anywhere in Box Elder County.
Okay.
They take money, and now it's $50, which is, by the way, 3 times more than our tax increase this year.
And is everybody in Box Elder? Or is that
everybody in Box Elder pays that, and it basically goes for 4 projects. Right. They do water projects in Collinston and in Bothwell. And how does that help you?
It doesn't. It's a redistribution of resources.
Exactly. And so they've been doing that since the 80s. And so I looked up when's the last project they did in Brigham. They seeded clouds once for $5,000 in the early 90s, I think. So they get $500,000.
I didn't know that was a thing. That's interesting. We can get into that another time.
So they take $500,000 from Brigham City residents
every year,
and they send it out west to do water projects.
Jeez.
And their mandate is to do the whole county. I'm trying to get us out of this. The mayor, we've had meetings with them. We're trying to get that off your tax rate.
Yeah.
Because or they could do a water project in Brigham.
Right. If we're going to pay for it, we should at least get something for it.
Exactly.
I don't know that anybody would be like, you know what? I don't know that there's something I'd want in Brigham. Talking about services, I kind of thought of 2 things. Is that there's kind of what the city actually provides, right? The parks and the maintenance thereof. And then there's like, we would like to have businesses here. I know that there's been, there's a whole bunch of stuff happening on 1100 and they've got all these restaurants, which is nice. I think that's a trade-off. It's nice to have Walmart, right? That's probably a huge reason people don't live out further because they have to go shopping, right? So those kinds of things. But at some point, then you start getting so many that you're like, well, now it's Ogden and I could live in Ogden, but I chose not to live in Ogden. And so I guess what I'm saying is there's services and everybody kind of balances those in their own mind according to what they would like.
And that's what bothers me about that Conservancy District is if you want to live in Bothwell or Collinston, nothing wrong with that. But why is Brigham City paying for your water projects?
Right, yeah.
And Perry, and you know how many projects they've done in Perry? None. Manoy, none. Willard, none. South Willard, they did get a well drilled, but this is over 40 years.
Well, I don't know how much a well costs, but it's probably not, $4 million if that's what they paid for 4 years, right?
So when we talk about, about raising our property taxes, and we're sending $500,000 out there, we wouldn't have to.
Yeah.
That would cover 3 years of property tax increases if we can get that knocked off.
Right. Well, that's good.
That's my hope. Things like that. When I say I want to help make the lives better for Brigham, I just don't think it's fair that we're subsidizing Bothwell projects.
Yeah.
And we've asked.
And that's one thing on probably a list of 20 or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like we had extra space out at the airport. And so we got the Utah State Flight School is out there now. And so they're renting the space from us. That brings money into the city.
Revenue.
This means we don't have to raise taxes as much. I mean, things like this, I think make everybody's life better when I say that. And I think
that one's pretty benign. I don't know anybody who's like, oh, no, I've got an airport and now it's like.
You had an airport before.
Yeah.
But now we've got
we're making use of
somebody there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so things like that, we've done a whole bunch of these things.
More with what you got kind of a thing.
And it's hard because most people don't see those. I mean, if it's in the paper, but if we're renegotiating a deal with Manaway, is that a big deal to you? You don't even recognize it.
Right.
And
yeah. And even if you did make that, like that was one of the things that we talked about with Christine is like getting that voice out there. There's a lot of people on Facebook, I'll say complaining. I think that's fair. And I think a lot of it is they don't know what's going on. I don't know if they would read an article here or there or something. And,
right.
But that if communication was there, and I don't know what that looks like, maybe it's a podcast. They may be more forgiving, right? Because I agree. Like, having Manaway pay their fair share, I think that's a step in the right direction. I think
is anybody going to argue with that?
I don't
know. Anybody in Brigham, right?
Right. So that's
and do you want to skip to the sharing information part?
Yeah,
I don't know what your skill.
It's fine. I've written these down in some sort of order, but it's flexible. I'll get to it, and sometimes I don't get.
So
that's fine.
during the last 4 years, we've started not a podcast, a app. We
Oh,
have a
I've
Brigham
seen
City app.
the app. I haven't looked at it much though.
We try and put out information on, and if you think about it, how do most people get their information nowadays? Is either Facebook or an app or the web somewhere. I still think the newspaper is relevant. I love the News and Journal. But so we've got an app. Do people have it?
I do. I looked at it.
Then we can't really complain about feeding you information.
Right. And that maybe
Right?
it's I just barely found out about it. And I didn't know what was on it. I haven't looked at it in much detail now. But
Right.
that's a good thing to know, is that if you're wanting to know more about Brigham City and what they're doing,
Right.
download the app. And
we have a Facebook page. They put out regular announcements. As far as feedback from the community is huge for us.
Mhm.
And we don't get much. We have a couple people that show up to every council meeting. They're the same people. And that's great. We love them.
they're on the council, right?
We have to be there. But no, we have, and then the few top staff members. No, we have a few citizens that come every meeting. And that's great. We tried early in when I first got on the council, we tried having focus groups. And so we set up at the senior center, and we had other people set up at Utah State and somebody at the library, and we had one person show up. So we sat there for 3 hours hoping people would come in and give us some feedback and something. We advertised it. We put it out. And so we had one person come, and it was the same lady that comes to city council every week. So
Who's done this in City Council?
we can't force feed it.
Right.
We shouldn't have to spoon feed them.
Right. There's a responsibility that falls on the citizens. I'm sure. Insert founding father quote here about being an informed electorate so that we can hold our elected representatives responsible.
So,
and with freedom comes responsibility.
Yeah, we do the best we can. I mean, Robin and I were at that location and sat there for probably 3 hours, and one person came. I mean, we tried.
Right.
And we've done that a couple times. We did, like when we redid the master plan.
Okay.
I know we talk about, you probably have that on here, the zoning and issues, and we had a focus group come to Utah State.
Yeah, I went there. I was there.
Okay.
I wrote, and
put stickers on stuff.
Yep.
There was probably 20 people. So when we're redesigning the entire plan for the city, 20 people show up.
Yeah.
That's depressing. And again,
there's what, 40, or how many people live in Brigham?
About almost 20,000.
20,000. Okay.
And if you count the surrounding areas, lots more. But yeah, so we're trying to design what's our plan for your city.
Most of the people are like, I don't care.
Right.
I don't care enough to show up or be there and be informed about it.
And then the 20 that do, their opinion's obviously more important to us because they're the ones that care. And they're the only information we have to go on. So when
send a survey out to 20,000 people, like 20 people show, or 2,000 people,
right.
20,000 people, 2,000 or 20 show up. Gosh, I'm really bad at talking right now.
No, it's
20 show up. And they're like, well, I hope this is a representative sample, but it is definitely not, because these are the ones who responded to the survey.
Right. It's such a small sample. We don't know.
Yeah.
And we try. I think we've really tried with some of those methods to get information out, but I can't knock on every door and spend 20 minutes talking to everybody.
Right.
And that's
make a law that you have no.
Yeah. No, it should be a law that people should have to be involved in their community.
I'm sure that would go over well.
But the ones that do bring up something, I think we've been pretty responsive. Like I had a citizen just called me and said, hey, we've got the senior center that's not the senior center, but a senior home that's just past Kent's across the highway, across Main Street.
Mm-hmm.
And it's right on 4th North there. And they said, our senior citizens walk to Kent's for their grocery shopping, and can we get a crossing there? And so it's a citizen that approached us, and I told him, I said, hey, this is a state road. We don't know. We'll try though. So I talked with the mayor and Derek Euler, who runs the city, and we got a hold of UDOT, and we've got a crossing there by Peach City now that UDOT put in. They said, yeah, you got enough people crossing here. So that's a genuine citizen concern. And all it was a phone call. And then we did a couple of phone calls, and it makes their life better.
So what I hear you saying, hopefully not to inundate you with a million phone calls, but maybe that's what you want.
Absolutely.
Is that would be better than complaining on Facebook with an anonymous account.
a little bit better.
Yeah. Just give a call. Be like, hey, if you have an issue, like we don't know if you don't tell us. You don't have to show up to every single meeting, but if you have an issue, we don't know unless you tell us. And yeah, that's fair.
And even complaints on Facebook. I try and keep up on things. I saw a lady that said, hey, look at this street here. We got people that park around when church is in, and they park all the way around the corner, and I can't see to pull out. And she said, what can we do about it? And I called Public Works and said, "Hey, can we get some red paint?" And that doesn't even cost us very much.
Right.
A few phone calls and some red paint, and she was as happy as could be. And it's a lot safer. I
Yeah, she doesn't
mean,
have to pull out blindly and hope that there's nothing
right.
coming.
And there's no way that I would know about that intersection if she doesn't tell me.
Yeah.
No, nobody on the council is going to know. The mayor's not going to know. No one. But when citizens contact us, I think that's huge. And we try and do the best we can. If it's a public works thing, we'll direct you to the right place or something. Yeah, my phone number's on the city webpage. You can text me or call me. I'm pretty good.
Put that in the show notes.
That's great. No, you can put it at the bottom on under the podcast. Put a link there. My phone number. That's the best way to contact me.
Make sure I confirm that with you before.
Yeah.
Is that your personal?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. All right. Okay. And
because
then,
I believe if I'm going to be on the council, like I'm not going to know those things, but that makes people's lives better.
right.
I mean, it's some paint.
Yeah.
Which seems like not much in the grand scheme of things, but if it saves an accident.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, just like, yeah, being responsive to whatever the issue is. Let's see here. You talked about transparency, I think accountability a little bit. Let's talk about smart growth. We kind of touched on this. This is my kind of, what do they call that? You know, if you're a one issue voter type of a thing.
Okay.
Is I did go to the thing at Utah State where you were able to put in thing, and I said as loudly as I could, I don't know, no more high density housing. And maybe that's not fair. I don't know. But I have looked at the city plan. I posted it on the Facebook page for the podcast. There's quite a bit of high density housing that's in that plan.
In certain areas.
In certain areas. Yeah. Well, in Brigham, where I live. And it seems like it's too fast. And maybe that's relative. And maybe I don't understand everything. So feel free to disabuse me of that notion. But I know that, you know, they're building all of those. And frankly, I don't have a problem with the townhomes that are over by the soccer park. Townhomes, I'd fill all of Brigham with, you know, townhomes, and that would be fine. I don't think you get too many that way. But some of these, like the one on Shopco, I know that there's plans for the Blue Heron subdivision, which I think has some high density housing at least. And then as I look at it, there's this kind of strip along Main Street, not on Main Street, but kind of be just past Main Street, maybe if I was looking at the map correctly, that there's a good chunk of high density housing that's coming in there in the future.
On which side?
Well, the way that I saw it, and is that it's kind of on both. But if we're on Main Street now, if this is Main Street, we've got businesses, and then just on the other side, so almost like the parallel streets facing out that way.
Okay.
There seems to be quite a bit. And maybe I'm just super sensitive because of Shopco and because of the Blue Heron. But all of that to say is I think it's been noticeable that there's more people.
Mm-hmm.
Our schools are overloaded. And that was something that came up in our last podcast with Christine is there seem to be two entities here. And it's like, well, that's not our problem, whether the schools are overloaded because we're city council. The school district takes care of that. And then the school district kind of like, well, if that's what we're going to do, then we're going to have to raise taxes. And so although there's not a causal relationship, there's very much influence over that. All of that to say, I guess, is it seems like it's fast. I don't know that it can never happen. And I know we've talked about smart growth. I think you and I have talked on Facebook about it. At what pace and at what cost or what are, I guess, tell me about your vision for smart growth, what that looks like now that I've spewed a bunch of
that's good. Okay. The pace is not driven by us. We can set out the general plan of where we will allow things, but the pace is basically when someone has land and they want to develop it. We can't tell them no. If it's in the general plan and it's designed for residents, even if it's, I mean, we don't have a timeline on the general plan is one thing.
Is that something that you could do? So if you're saying this is general, so this general plan is from today to infinity.
Well, we
at some point, and if
can change them and update them.
Right. So if we know that we can update them, then we can put a pace on it and say this plan is supposed to be for the next 5 to 10 years. And so these these places that were agricultural or commercial, those are now high density.
Right. No, okay.
In 5 years, we'll rezone this and we can assess at that point instead of like, boom, this all at some point will be high density. And if everybody comes in and says, we want to build apartments there today, we can't slow that down.
To a point, yes.
Okay.
So a couple of things. First off, we have mandates from the state on a lot of things.
Okay, that was another question I'll get to later.
Like,
this is actually, let's move to there now.
Auxiliary housing unit. They said if you have room in your yard and you want to build another unit there, we have to let them.
Okay.
So that adds, I mean, if just one house, boom, there's another unit there.
So if I wanted to, if I wanted to build a little house for my mother-in-law in the backyard
Mhm.
or to rent out to somebody. Okay, that's hardly high density housing, but keep going.
Right, but it doubles that block.
Right,
It could be anywhere.
right.
We don't have a choice on saying no because it's a state mandate.
As long as it's within code, right?
Right.
Okay.
But because the state's looking for more population,
Mm.
so they pass laws that we don't have a choice on something like that. So that's one thing.
So when you say that,
The
this was a question I asked the other two candidates that if you watched that you saw is if what we think is best for Brigham contravenes what the state says, what can be done or what can you do or where would you put your foot down on that? If
that's hard because the state, if they pass a law, we have to follow it.
yeah.
So there's only so much we can do. We have great representatives.
So
in
it's
our
more a
senators.
law than it is like an incentive.
Right.
You are now ineligible for $20 million that you would have gotten from the state.
Right. No, if they pass laws on, so what they usually do is mandate like how high density. And so they'll say you have to have so many per acre or things like that.
Okay.
But this auxiliary dwelling unit is just adding houses intermittently anywhere.
Is that happening a
And
lot in Brigham?
not that many, but it's a state law, so we don't have a choice on something like that.
Okay, that was the example that you
Yeah, the high density ones, like Wendy's, where Wendy's built with Shopco, we didn't have any say over that. It was a contracts with Shopco. They wouldn't let any commercial come in there. And it's the people's property. And that's where we get into a hard part too, is property rights.
Mhm.
Like, do you want me to tell you what to do with your property? And to an extent we do, because I don't want
right.
I don't want a junkyard built next to my house.
I can't have goats in my backyard,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so you do though, but yeah, keep
To
going.
a point, because they drive your neighbors. But at the same time, I've had citizens tell us we shouldn't allow them to sell their land to certain people. You want us to tell you who you can sell to? That's a little more power than we should have.
Okay.
So what we do is we have a general plan. And like I said before, almost nobody comments on it. And so we try and come out with the best plan. And we say, okay, this area should be commercial. This area should be residential in the grand scheme of things eventually.
Mhm.
As we fill up the whole area, where would we want our commercial to be? Our industrial is out by Volcraft and that strip along that Watery Lane out there. So that's where we would have any industrial things come in, like the Love's tire plant, or where Nucor's building a facility now. We want industrial in that area. We want commercial along 1100 South, things like that. So we try and get as best we can what's the long-term plan, and then where do we want a major road to go through? And we had a big discussion on that. How are we going to connect 1200 West by the soccer fields to that stub that's by the Blue Heron? And the long-term plan is how are we going to get that over there? So we try and work on those things. And then the high density is we only have certain little areas where they can do that. And then the other areas where they're medium density, it looks kind of, I think it looks worse than it is. So they'll build big lots and then they'll have townhouses so that they meet the average law. If we say you have to have, 4 units per acre.
Then you split it in 4.
Yeah. Well, they put 4.25 acre. And then they have somebody with a big lot.
Oh, somebody's got a mansion and the rest of
right. So it meets the math of the whole project.
Averages out. Okay.
So kind of like the north section of town, we've got where the old golf course used to be. We've got some townhouses, and then above that we've got single family houses. So they try and balance out. So we can put restrictions on it, but only we can't say. You know what I mean? We can say you have so many per acre, but they can get around that. And
so hypothetically, tell me if this would be legal under that. So you could call it low density and it's only 4 houses per acre. But if they bought 100 acres and they put an apartment there and then they use the rest for parking and the green, that would technically be low density because it's all confined to this area and they bought enough land out there to...
It could be if they get the numbers right, it can.
It could do that. That's theoretically possible.
Okay. So we say, okay, we want 1 house per acre. That's bigger than Brigham City does.
Yeah.
But if we had 1/4 acre lots, that's normal what's around town.
Right.
And that's what, we'd love that.
But even if it was, let's say it was low density and somebody decided to put an apartment up there, that's still going to be surrounded by 10, 20 acres of nothing, or at least not housing, right? Maybe it's a park. It's like, I don't mind that apartment because now I've got a giant park here because they had to do something, right? I don't know.
Right. And if the complaint is how many people we add per acre, well, the park, we still have the same numbers.
Okay.
So
that's fair. That's good. I did not know that that was a part of that. So
and sometimes we get mandated on those things, so we don't have a choice.
Right. And that was...
But the general plan is we're reworking that soon. I think the next year we plan on doing another revision of the general plan.
Okay.
And seeing what we can do.
That's good to know. You're going to be seeking public comment on that, maybe?
Absolutely.
So,
Last time we got 20 people.
yeah. Yeah, I'll freaking
So-
go, knock doors. Guys, here's the deal. We've all been complaining on Facebook. We've got a chance now to have our voice heard.
And Councilmember Troxel, she made a great point too, though. Growth is going to come.
Right.
And she said, when she was a kid, her family all lived in one house. But now her brothers and sisters need houses now that they're grown. So now that same family needs 6 houses instead of 1. And now that their kids are here, we need 15 more houses.
Maybe, but people die. I didn't. I one of the
But that's
responses
just
you made
3
to my Facebook
generations.
comment on high density. You're like, well, you moved here, and maybe people didn't want you. Well, I bought a 70-year-old house. An old person died, and I moved in. So somebody's gonna die, and those kids can move into houses there, assuming they can afford.
But say one of the 5,
Yeah.
you still need 4 new houses.
Yeah.
And then their kids, even if they only have 2 kids each, which is national average, we still need 10 new houses. That's just for that one family to stay in Brigham. Now, half of them might not want to,
Right?
but we still need 8 new houses. And I do say that it always cracks me up when people say, I moved here because I wanted a small town feel.
Right.
I'm like, right, but you moved here. That adds 1 more person, and now you don't want anybody else to move here after you.
But
That's kind of what I was giving you a hard time on.
Right. About a 70-year-old house.
We do have people, right? We do have people that replace that.
No, Hewlett died. Her sister Hewlett, and so I was able to move into their house when they sold it.
Right, but then at the same time,
Yeah.
everybody thinks that timeline starts right after I moved here. That's the kind of point I was getting across.
And I think there's fairness there. Is I think what we're getting at here is the pace at which we get there,
Mm-hmm.
and that is something it seems like we have some control over, and maybe we need to exert more of the control. At least that's where I'm coming from.
Okay, that's a great question.
Constituents decide, or the
Great question. So we set up the master plan, and we say, okay, well, this part is residential.
Yeah.
Okay, we plan it. It's agricultural now, but in the long term, it's probably going to be residential. Well, what if that farmer decides to sell now? And it's on the plan that says long-term plan that's residential. He can do what he wants with his property, and it's on the plan.
Right. If it's on the plan, then that would be discrimination. If you don't put it on the plan, then.
So do we tell him, we just say it's agriculture, you can't sell your land at all? You can't do anything with it other than ag?
No, I think you say you can sell it to somebody else who wants it for ag use, because as of now, that's what it's for.
Right.
But you're right. If you've zoned it out for high density or whatever it is, then yeah, you can't discriminate against them, or you can't be like, we're gonna handcuff you. You can't sell your property.
Yeah, and so when we talk about the pace, it's driven by that guy wanting to sell his property in development.
Yeah.
So, for example, going out, every city by state law has a boundary, and they say, okay, anything that's built in this boundary is going to eventually be Brigham City. So ours goes up to, I think, 4,400 north, just this side of Honeyville. So that would be all Brigham City eventually. Now, Hyperwood people might not like that for now.
So 40, I don't know where that's. So you're saying north of here. That's where you go out to Corinne, way out there, almost to Honeyville.
Right.
Is eventually going to be Brigham.
Well, inside the city limits, that's what the state says. I mean, they have one forever.
If ever there's going to be people there that need to be incorporated into a town,
right,
that
would be
It would be Brigham City. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And so, if some farmer out there wants to sell his land,
yeah,
and it's eventually designed for, I mean, it's going to be residential.
Yeah.
The pace is how fast he wants to sell it.
Right.
Right. And the neighbors say, well, we don't want that. It's his, and they say, my neighbors won't sell.
Yeah.
If someone offers him $2 million
at some point, yeah,
it's probably going to sell. Yeah. And so the pace, when we talk about the pace, it's driven by development and how fast someone there wants to sell his land. Grandpa might want to keep farming until he dies. The grandkids don't want to. So that's when they're going to develop the land. And then the next generation, same. So it sounds bad. We put the plan in place, but then development drives when the changes come.
Okay.
And so we can try and slow it down, but in the long-term plan, if it's designed for residential, the best we can do is say, well, your street has to be up to code and we want a street here.
Gotcha.
So that it matches the plan.
That would be the obligation.
Yeah, that's the hard part of balance is what do the rest of us want versus his property rights?
Right. I think that's fair. And I think that's a good, probably a discussion that needs to be had. I don't want to spend our whole conversation here
you might
talking about this, but yeah.
A lot of the people in the state legislature are backed by the big developers.
Yeah, right. So this seems like we need to be involved in our state politics as well.
Exactly. Sometimes they pass things that we might not like, but if you understand their background, that might might help a little bit too.
Maybe that'll be another branch of my podcast, is looking into the more state stuff as well. So I appreciate that information. That's good. So far, this guy's not evil as far as I can tell. So that's good.
Well, I'm a Yankees fan, so I get a lot of evil Empire stuff.
Let's see here. I think we talked about a lot of that good stuff. The next part I want to get into, again, a question that I've asked all the candidates is, where do you get your moral bearings from? That's, I think, I'll just merge these two questions together. Brigham City is a religious community, and I think predominantly Christian, at least Christian, right?
Mhm.
Definitely probably Mormon in some capacity. I don't know what that looks like. But regardless of affiliation, I don't know. I'll let you answer the question how you see fit. But where do you get your moral bearings? How does that impact your role on city council, if at all?
From my mom. I was taught to be a good person. Growing up, our worst thing we could possibly do, no matter what, if we lied about it, that's when we got in the biggest trouble. So no, I had a great mom, and she taught me great moral principles.
Give me some examples.
Well, honesty. They're in line with we are a Judeo-Christian country. We got the 10 Commandments. That's been our basis forever. We've got the Constitution is based on things like that.
Right. Murder's off the table is what I'm
right.
Okay.
Being an honest person, ethical person, I think those are important. And yeah, I've been taught that since I was a kid.
How has that impacted your role on city council, since you're the first guest I've had that's actually on city council currently?
For example, when people ask me questions, I'm not going to give them an answer they want to hear. I'll tell them what I think, whether we disagree or not.
That's fair. I can vouch for that.
I think they deserve an answer.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody deserves an answer, and an honest answer, and the reason why we're doing it. Like, why am I voting the way I am? And I think that's fair. But honest answers. I don't have a problem with that. That's
all right.
I mean, that's where all our morals come from, right? The way we were raised.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Unless you go the opposite way. Mom did this, and I'm like, no. Which I guess is still coming from mom.
I think we have good people, and you ask them to be transparent and do their thing.
Well, thank you. And then here's a question again, since you're on the city council, how would you say you differ from your peers on the current city council? I know another one, Ryan, is up for re-election here, but obviously there's another good number of them. How would you say you differ? Either, I don't know, do what you want with that question.
Okay, but without scrutinizing every member of the council and what I think, some of them have great insight onto a lot of things, and I've learned a lot from them. I know Robin Troxel is always one of the first to say, how's this going to impact everybody? How's this going to impact the little people? I don't say little people, but the average person. How does this affect them? And I think that's one of her great strengths. But I've learned that from her over the years, is like, I need to, because we present a plan. I'm like, okay, this sounds like a good plan. And so, but you have to stop and think, how's this going to affect everyday people in town?
Right.
What's this going to do to them?
And
whether the plan's good.
People who show up to the meetings are those who are on fixed income, and they are locked in at what they can afford. And so you gotta
everybody.
think of them. Right.
And so, yeah, Ryan, I've really enjoyed working with Ryan. When he first started on the council, like I said, I have a really strong background in the finances side. And he sat down with me and said, I need you to explain the budget. This is our very first meetings. And so we sat down. I told him it would cost him a hamburger at Peach City. So shout out to Peach City. It was great. We sat there for a couple hours. We went through the whole budget.
Okay.
And now, to his credit, I think he understands the budget really well. And he's worked really hard on understanding that. It wasn't his strong point coming in. And I think that's a plus for somebody that's willing to learn. Like I said, that was my strength, and my weakness might be understanding people as well as Robin does. Things like that. Dave Hipp, he worked as a conflict negotiator in his personal life. And so when we sit in council and we have different sides and opinions and everything.
You seem working on you. Like,
yeah. Yeah. He's like, okay, how are we going to get to a resolution? How can we get everybody to a win-win, or at least the best solution we can get? Conflict negotiating, things like that.
Compromise. And
yeah.
What am I willing to give up versus what hill will I die on?
Yeah. I think my strength is the finance side, like I said.
Okay.
And that comes from being an accountant. I'm a CPA. I still audit 5 other cities. I do Honeyville, Elwood, Bear River.
Yeah, you didn't used to do it. You currently do it, and you're very sharp on that still.
Right. And so that's where I think I'm a little bit stronger than some of the other candidates. Jeffries, Councilman Jeffries, he's a salesman. So anytime we have to do deals, he's great at seeing different parts of a deal. And I don't always agree with him. I've been on a 1-4 vote, and it was on the master plan, but I thought a road should go.
Okay.
And they disagreed. So that's when you put up with one and you're like, oh man, it's hard,
Yeah.
but we don't always vote in sync. I think one of the things I do on the council is when I get the packet, I try and call all the people ahead of time. If I have questions with the planning commission or with the public works, I call them all the time, or the lawyer. So I don't ask as many questions in the council meeting because I've already talked about it ahead of time. I think that's part of my, I don't need everybody in there when I call up an employee and say, hey, explain this to me. I do that ahead of time. So,
Right. That way you don't have to use everybody else's time to get caught up to speed.
right. I think that prepares me better for the meetings, things like that.
Perfect. Well, that's good to know. That's something we can ask our other councilmen to do. And then I think we've gone over this ad infinitum. What experience do you have that makes you a good city council member? I think you've answered that pretty well. I don't know if you wanted to add anything before we move on to the next question.
Just like I said, I honestly try and make people's lives better. And I don't know if you're going to get to this, but if you give me 5 minutes, I bet I can explain to you. I think I'm good at explaining things to people. I can explain to you the transfer from the general fund. And I bet you'll agree with me after 5 minutes.
Okay. Let's hold that to the end. I want to put a pin in that. I think that's good. I think it's come up. I know I've seen multiple people complain about it on
People
Facebook.
hate it online.
And it doesn't look great, but I suspect there's logic behind it that, like you said, would agree. People
guarantee you'll agree with me.
We've got a platform for you to get your voice out on that. So absolutely, we'll leave some time here at the end for you on that.
Okay.
What are you most proud of from your time on city council?
Most proud of? I think things like listening to the people. Like, honestly, that little crosswalk, to me, it means someone knew I'd value their opinion. And I think little things, even like that red paint I brought up earlier, they know if they call me that I'm going to do something about it.
Right.
I might not be able to.
Might just shake the joke. Get the garbage can. Here's my
right
complaint jar.
Right. But I think people know that if they call me, and that's why I say my phone number, you can call me. But listening to the people and having, when someone answers back on Facebook, it's just, hey, you threw up the red paint you asked for. I'm like, that means a lot that they know they could contact me and I'll try and do something about it. And I feel that it's a lot of personal satisfaction when we can get something done like that to help somebody, even if it's just that senior home right there. Absolutely. That means a lot to them every single day when they're crossing that road. And it's not hard. There's a lot of personal satisfaction in that. And if I find a mistake in the city books, I can give the controller a hard time. People don't understand that an audit doesn't find things like that. But the city council, one of the things we have to do is we take turns each quarter, and people don't know this, but we go through the books. And every receipt, we can sit there for as long as we want or as little, but we look through the receipts and see is this one been signed off? Is there a purchase order for this? So we have oversight on the books. When people say we don't even know where the dollars are spent.
Yeah, it was Brigham City needs to be audited. I've seen on Facebook.
Right. We get an audit every year, and an audit's not going to find everything like that.
And it's not your company.
It can't be our company right now. But yeah, I've gone through the receipts and I say, okay, what is this receipt? What is it for? Who signed off on it? And you take an hour every, quarter, every couple months. And then we rotate through the council of who has to do that, because it's not fun sitting there looking at receipts. But there is council oversight on things like that. When we talk about spending, we are looking at those. And I have found a few mistakes that I let the city know. Like somebody didn't sign off on the right thing. And that's a small thing, but it's a procedure that we want in place.
Yeah, if it was the one thing that cost us a bunch of money that shouldn't have happened, then we need to know about it.
So we want to know where the dollars go and who signed off on them and what's the process. So we do have accountability. People don't think...
I think is what it comes down to is a lot of us, myself included, just don't know how things go on. And it seems like being at city council meetings isn't necessarily the best way to figure that out. It's going to be calling you or one of the other members and having a real conversation. And asking questions. And
Derek Euler and the mayor are really good to take a meeting. If you have some issue, they'll meet with you.
Yeah, that's good because I want them on the podcast. My hugely popular and successful podcast.
Growing.
Smart growth. Okay, and then let's see here. Touched on this just a bit, but I do want to go into it. Being at city council meetings, unless you're there for the public comments part, I know I was there because I had something to say about the apartments, and then everything else was like, I don't need to know this. This is all very minutia stuff. As far as getting butts and seats there, is that what's most important to show up to city council meetings for regular citizens, or is it just going to be calling and talking to you guys? or is there a balance? And how would what guiding principle would you give to somebody who's like, I had to take time from my wife and kids to have this podcast, to go to do all the other things I need to do? What should I use?
Let me ask you that.
Whether I go to a meeting or not.
How did you find out about the Blue Heron
Facebook page? My wife found it, and she's like, "Hey, did you know about this thing?"
on the city's Facebook page?
I think it was the city's Facebook page. That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
So you put in some effort.
My wife did, but yes,
Okay.
she drew it to my attention.
But it's something that concerned you.
Right.
And so you showed up at the council meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. We have, when the packet comes to me, the packet and the agenda go out on the city webpage.
Okay.
So if you were to, even if you only check it every 2 weeks,
Okay.
a week before a city council meeting, there's the agenda, what's coming up.
And then if that's something that you want to say something about.
Yeah.
They did say at the meeting, though, by the time you show up to that meeting, we've discussed it, I guess, on certain things, but we've basically made the decision.
Oh, and that's the budget or a general plan. The budget, so we start working on that in February. So when people show up at the June meeting and say, have you looked at this? We have.
We have. You haven't been paying attention, but we have.
Right. And they're welcome to come to every budget session, and those are on the agendas as well.
Okay.
You can come to every one of those. They're like, did you make any cuts? Well, there's a whole page in the city budget of things we don't approve.
Okay.
That you can find. Here's what managers asked for that the mayor said no. And so we're not rubber stamping everything. And you can read through what they need. Yeah. So it's out there for everybody. I would say, I mean, look at the packet and it's got the backup detail too.
Right. That could take 5 to 10 minutes if you look through the agenda. Be like, ooh, I don't like that thing. I need to let them know. Or I love this and I would like to. I assume there are people out there that want to let them know they're doing a good job. Maybe they
not as many.
They'll say, "Ooh, got them painted," and the senior citizen center they got a crosswalk. Definitely let them know. Send them an email. Right?
Yeah, but in the agenda, I mean, it'll have it'll say here's item 1, and you can go look at all the backup for that, and you can get educated.
Okay.
And you can read up on that, and that's what we have to do. Now, we do it a couple meetings before sometimes if it's an ongoing issue.
Right. You already have the information, and you've had it because it was okay.
And you could do the same thing with the planning commission's agendas are posted. If you want to go to the planning commission, that's a step ahead. So when we say, when it comes to us in June, the budget's kind of decided because we've had 13 meetings about it. Yeah. And so when someone shows up and they haven't been to any of those meetings.
I see it. It can be galling that you just all of a sudden showed up here. We've been doing this for months.
And it's almost insulting when they say, have you thought about this? Or did you look at this? Or
no, thanks for bringing that to my attention. I've been watching football since February.
Right? It's like, yes, we did here and here and here and here. And it's kind of hard, but yeah, every department manager says, hey, I need this. And you're like, that can wait another year. What about this and this? We've talked to them. We've met with them. The mayor has that list. It's a whole half a page of things that he didn't approve. And people talk, if I can pull up on my phone the tax rates. So it's easy to say, I don't want to raise taxes. I don't want to do any increases. And we're going to save you money by not doing taxes. But you can only do that so long.
Right. What services are suffering because of that? Right. Is this a want or is it a need? And at some point you start getting into the needs, right?
Right. And so, for example, when I first got on the council, the mayor or the fire chief came and said, look, our fire engine's 20 years old, a backup. Our first line fire engine is 15 years old. He said, the industry says, don't let your backup be more than 15. They should take 10 and 15. Now, those are standards, which they probably want us to get a new fire truck, but still. If our backup truck is 20 years old, that doesn't matter to anybody unless your house is the second one on fire. Right? Then it's all of a sudden.
I got the backup. You got the backup created way.
Yeah. And it's costing us $90,000 a year in repairs. So we said, you know what, we're gonna have to take the hit and we're gonna buy a fire truck. And it was $800,000. So that wasn't in our original budget, but we had to get it in there somehow, and we did. And then the fire truck, it takes 4 years to deliver almost. Three years at that time. Now they're selling us over 4. So they come back to us and they said, okay, we're raising prices. You guys bought a truck 3 years ago. We're going to raise prices in January. And in the 3 years since you bought it, the price went from $800,000 to $1 million. So it went up to it, and it's going up in January. Do you want to buy one now? Right. Well, it's already gone. And it's going to take 4 years to get it.
So you didn't. So there's
This is the second truck.
There's a difference in placing the order and actually paying for the order. If you pay for it up front, great. You're going to wait 3 years, but you got the lower price.
Right.
If you wait, you can spend that money on whatever you want, but now you're paying the higher price, and you've got to figure
But
out.
then when we pay the higher price, we still have to wait 3
You
more.
still have to wait 3 more years.
4 more years now.
Okay.
So they're backed up that far. So just by buying the
Wow,
fire
sounds
truck
like
when
there
we did,
is a market for fire trucks. Tesla, if you're watching.
yeah, I think there's 2 companies that make them or
Yeah.
something. So by when we bought the truck, if we wait another month, it saves us 200,000. That's how much at least it went up, and it had gone up 200 in the last 2 years. So
Right.
so
You had to assess
getting
whether
it
it
when
was
we
worth
can.
at what point. Okay.
Yeah. And other things with the budget, and the budget's hard. When we have somebody like, the one thing that's most important in Brigham is water.
Okay.
And we live in a desert,
Talking about more people on the infrastructure.
but so we have a lot of wells up in Manaway.
Okay.
And one of them is actually poisoned. We had to close it. We can't use the well. Okay. Or springs too. Springs, not wells. So a piece of land comes up for sale that's next to one of our springs. It only comes up when grandpa decides to sell. So it's been 40, 50 years. It's never been for sale. But we don't want somebody to take that and put any chemicals on there that's going to ruin our well. But it's 300,000. That's not in the budget.
Buy that land.
So what do you do?
Right.
Because the water is forever. The spring, I mean, that's generational.
Yeah.
But we need 300,000. So that's not in the budget.
How do we get it?
Really? Right, right.
Postpone the fire truck. No, I'm sure.
If we could, right? No, and it's those
I mean,
decisions.
these are the budget. I think people who own homes,
Yeah.
people who vote, well, people who have jobs and vote, we'll say own homes or rent. They know budgeting is
Right.
a real thing. It's like, oh, I can't pay for Netflix because I have to
Right.
pay for.
And I can't pay for a piece of land in Manaway next to our spring because I don't have the money.
Right.
But it's not going to come up for sale again for another 30 years.
Right.
We don't want them to develop it.
Right.
We don't want them to put townhouses next to it
Yeah.
because it's our spring, and what's more important than our water?
Right.
So we worked with the seller, said, hey, can we pay this over a couple years, and get the price down to
Maybe a
something we
little
can work
interest
with?
even just to sweeten
Yeah.
the deal so that you don't sell it to somebody who's going to
Right.
use it as sewage runoff or something.
No, it's exactly right. We don't want, I mean, there's nothing more important than our water.
Have it be a cow bath.
Yeah. Those are hard decisions, but we work with him, and he worked with us, and a lot of people will say, hey, can we split that up over a couple budgets so that it doesn't hit the city all at once? But we definitely want that. I mean, we've wanted it
We need to
forever.
fix it. Yeah, now it's available.
Right.
Gotta strike while the iron's hot.
And like I said, how often does grandpa decide I'm retiring and not going to farm it anymore? Once. And then his
Right.
kids.
And then whoever does whatever with that after that.
Right.
It's probably not.
That's probably one of the harder decisions, but I think we worked out a good deal. We bought the land, worked it out over a couple budgets, and
figure it out.
but it's hard when someone comes and says, hey, you need 300,000.
You're right.
or another one was so our tax rates that we've raised. I know a lot of people are worried about the tax rates. Number one, another thing I hope they don't confuse us with the school district. But our tax rate this year, we're asking for about 5%, 4.5%, 5%, right? Last year was 0. The year before was 3%. So running for re-election, I think we've done a really good job on maintaining taxes. The first year was 17%. And I think part of that is because we inherited things where people didn't want to raise taxes for a long time. And eventually it hits us.
I mean, we see that with the federal government is nobody wants to give up their pet project, whatever that is, Social Security or whatever, but nobody wants to pay more taxes.
Right.
So it's like, well, you got to give something up.
Right. And so it's hard. It's a balancing act, but eventually we got to pay for some stuff. So, and that 17% hit us in my first year. And I'm like, ouch, 17%. Yeah. I know about 4 years before that, the city did a huge tax increase, and the citizens told us, we don't want that. We'd rather have a small increase every year. It was a big increase.
Was that when inflation was out of control? Or?
It was about 8 years ago. I'd have to double check, but before us, they were 16, 15, and then like a 30%. So it was a big one because they put it on. It's easy to say, hey, reelect me. I didn't raise your taxes.
Right.
I just didn't fix anything.
But I'm going to have to do it next year.
Right.
Hopefully you forget 3 years when I'm up for reelection.
Yeah. So our 3%, our 4% and 0% is the last 3 years. That's not terrible.
Not terrible.
When you think 4% is about $15.
Right. And costs go up for the city as much as they do for us.
I can stand on our tax increases. I don't feel bad about those.
Before we get to the general fund transfer thing, anything else you would like to discuss? I want to give you an open mic to talk to your voters and tell them whatever you would like to that we haven't already covered, if anything.
No, I think we've covered most of it. You have great questions, really. Especially I appreciate people that get interested. I think it's great that you're interviewing the candidates. And if one of the complaints that you've seen is people don't get enough information, you're going out of your way to try and help them. I think that's great. I think the city's tried. We can't spoon feed it to people. At some point, people have to be responsible.
We got to make it sexy. So let's not.
You got the wrong candidate if you're looking for that.
That's my job.
But yeah, I think I like to focus on what we can do to make people's lives better. And I think some of those aren't the things that people notice, like redoing a sewer contract or a conservancy district thing. I mean, those you probably don't even see those, but we have a lot of those that, I mean, we're not tooting our own horn most of the time. Maybe we should, but
I'm happy to be the guy who toots the horn. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's others. Hopefully this will grow and it's not just a me thing, but if there's other people in the community who notice things, I think there's a lot to be said.
Well, when you
not just criticizing, but saying, hey, we appreciate that Manaway is now paying their fair share, and maybe we don't spend $500,000 on water projects.
When you interview the county commissioners, you can ask them that because they're over the conservancy district.
Okay, right, and I think that might be a future episode. So
I hope so, because we're trying. We've gone to them. We've asked them to let us out. Like I said, that's more than the tax increase the last 3 years.
Okay,
That's how much they're taking from Brigham City. $500,000 a year. We'd pay for a fire truck in 2 years.
That's canceling your Disney Plus subscription and not having, when you should have done it 5 years ago.
Well, you're paying for your neighbors.
Right, yeah.
And
You got 3 subscriptions.
So things like that. We are trying to make your lives better.
Okay.
And I hope people know that.
I appreciate that. I think let's go here and then we'll do my outro. General fund. Say we got 5 minutes. I think that's a good amount of time.
All right.
People who stayed around for this.
The general fund transfer. So first we start off with the principle. We try and keep our rates similar to Rocky Mountain Power, which is the general going rate for power. Okay. So that's the first thing. And Rocky Mountain Power makes a profit, obviously, and they send that to Warren Buffett because that's who eventually owns them through a few different companies. Okay. So Rocky Mountain Power could charge the same amount. They make $2 million and they send it to Warren Buffett. We can do the same thing and we make $2 million and we send it into Brigham City to pay for other stuff. So we're not gouging anybody is the first thing. Okay. We're charging the going rate. Right. Okay.
Comparable to cash outlay or Ogden or whatever it is.
Most people think we buy power from Rocky Mountain Power. We don't really. It's more like an open market, and they're
usually the best person to buy from.
No, not even. It's open market. You can buy from anybody.
Oh, you don't even worry about who it is.
It looks like the stock market. There's tickers all over. So some of our power comes from a dam in Colorado. We own part of that, and we're working on power things.
Okay.
That's the power is
a little more independent.
Yeah. Power. Well, the whole power issue is another story. But okay. So we could cut rates. But then we have to cut that $2.5 million out of the budget. So that's our first option.
Okay.
We can have that conversation. Should we lower rates and just cut the budget? But the things that get cut are the things that usually hurt the least of these among us. Okay. So rec departments. So we cut the rec.
In our city, what is that actually? Is that the tennis courts or is that
they run youth programs?
So my son played tennis over the summer. Would have been something.
Let's cut.
Or increases prices if they could just
right. So any soccer programs, anything like that. Some of the well-off kids are already playing on the comp leagues.
Right.
Right. If we tried to run a league or a little league baseball or things like that, those get cut. Parks and rec get cut. The senior center gets cut.
Okay. Parks and rec. What does that look like?
So maintaining all our parks.
Okay.
Upkeep on everything. The structure.
We have to go longer for mowing the lawn. We got to. Water fountain might not get fixed for a while.
Right.
Bathrooms are locked.
New lights at the softball fields. Things like that. So we can have that conversation and we can cut the budget. We could cut $20,000 and not have fireworks. That would probably get everybody impeached. Because that's the best bang for our buck, right? But we could cut the budget to the
unintended.
The $2 million, $2.5 million. That's a conversation we can have. Okay. If we don't, and then the next thing it hits is the police and the fire, and because we use a lot of that for those. So leaving the budget where it is, then we have 2 choices. We can charge it through the utility like we do and make the transfer, or we can lower the utility rates and increase property taxes. Now, I agree 100% that's more transparent because then you know
It
exactly what you're
looks less
paying.
sketchy. Okay.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And if I can control how much money I'm consuming in my house, turn the lights off, kids, or what, whatever it
Right.
is.
Right. But the transparency on your property tax, you can see exactly what you're paying. It's a little harder to know how much could we lower the rate on the utility and not cut the transfer, right?
Right.
These are,
Could we get that number? I think
that'd be really
if you're
hard.
going to assess it, right, you're going to be like, okay, here's how much per unit use you're going to save, and we're going to
Yeah.
increase it this. But again, that's within your control.
Now,
If you
here's the issue.
compare the two, that would be easy. But I assume that's not.
Here's the kicker is whatever we lower the utility by, we would have to raise your property tax more because there's lots of people that pay utilities that don't pay property taxes. Every government building, every school, every church, they don't pay property taxes. And so the amount we would cut the utility, we would have to more that because they all use utility. So all the churches and schools and things like that that don't pay property taxes, they do pay energy tax. So the cost to you as an average citizen would be more.
They're subsidizing our taxes because we can include them in the power structure. They are excluded from the property tax.
So we have three choices. We can do it the way we do it.
So if I was a business owner, if I owned a plant or something, I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. Maybe.
Well, not necessarily because businesses pay taxes.
Okay.
Just schools, churches, government buildings. So we can do it how we do it. We can switch it to property tax and you pay more. That's option 2. Or we can lower the budget and cut all the low hanging fruit.
Interesting.
Okay. And the lower the budget, that's a conversation we have every year of how much our budget is. So now, are you okay paying less, or do you want us to switch it to property tax?
I don't know. I think it is more fair than a lot of people suspected. I don't know that it's obvious to me that a school paying it is better or not. I haven't worked out the logic there because they're paid by the city anyways, right? My tax is paying.
You're paying for the school.
It's circular.
Right?
I pay for the school and the school pays for the electricity, and that kind of comes back to me a little bit. That's shaving off a little bit, maybe.
Right.
I don't know that it's obvious. I guess I'd have to get into it more, do my own research, and work through it logistically. I think it's a conversation maybe worth having. I don't know if we need to throw it at you guys yet, but if somebody wants to work through the logistics there.
Not as evil, though.
It's not evil. I think we can argue that, right? There's nothing in what you said that makes it sound, I think that sounds.
It used to be a 15%
logical.
transfer. Now it's down to 12. The mayor helped cut that too.
Okay.
So there
some,
is more cutting.
Right. Yeah. If you cut it down to 10, right? Maybe that amount could change. You could say,
it's
I'm going to cut it down to
choice.
10, and then now your prices go down 5 cents a unit or whatever it is. But I think that's fair. I think that those who are inclined to do the math on that, to do the research and bring that before the city council, I don't think that would be a huge deal. But like you said, it's not evil. It's not. It's not shady. And on its face, at least, I don't know. Maybe there's.
If we raise the property taxes, the roundabout for the school, they're not going to cut yours.
Yeah,
you're going to have to pay more for them paying more.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Yeah, so those are our 3 options: cut the budget, do it how we do it, or move it to property tax, and every citizen pays more.
And really, it's going to be equal what you're going to see in your property tax instead of seeing it in your bill. And maybe the simplicity of it would be worth it. That's
a conversation you could have.
Okay.
That's like I said, the property tax method is more transparent. It's straightforward. It just costs people more.
Yeah. And that I think is that would be the debate or the conversation that needs to be had is, now that I understand both options, are we happy with where we're at, or is there enough benefit to changing it? So that's good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
That's the number one complaint online.
Yep.
I think it does look. It's not the most transparent. I 100% agree. But the other way costs you more money, and I think in the end, most people would rather not pay more. Let's just guess, though.
Yeah. So is it clear that the more money out of my pocket versus what it is now?
Because if we have the same budget, the money's got to come from somewhere. And if we cut all the churches, schools, and government buildings that don't pay taxes, well, if the budget doesn't change, it's got to come from you.
Right, but those budgets, so it sounds like churches is the difference.
Could be.
It's a way of taxing the churches because you can't otherwise probably, right?
right?
Because all the city building stuff is all included in there anyways, right?
And it's not just taxes. I mean, the churches, they use police services, they use fire service, they're protected, they have city services.
Do they pay property tax? There's a
Not like,
church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints or that city community.
no, there's a lot of them that are exempt.
They're exempt. They don't pay any
So-
taxes. The
right.
property, nothing.
Right.
Oh.
So we would lose all they're used for utilities
Okay.
on that.
Okay. So there's
So-
something there. So if you think they should be taxed, then there you go. Or if you don't think they should, then there we go.
It's up to you.
Right.
But that's the conversation.
Yeah. I don't know if that should be something that should deter you from voting.
So
Councilman Jensen here.
I hope people understand it.
Yeah.
So what do you want out of the city? That's what we got to.
What do I want out of the city?
Yeah, I know you're anti-growth on the big boom growth.
Slow growth. Yeah.
Slow managed growth.
I was born and raised in Syracuse, and that city has changed immensely. It looks like Layton now, and a lot of that's apartments and stuff. So that's the big thing. I've got 2 kids. I know that there are trade-offs for having a bigger city that you live in. If I had my choice, if I could afford a home where Syracuse is to be closer to family, I probably would have. But as far as what I actually want from a community, the Brigham City that I moved into is pretty ideal. Having neighbors that I know, there's enough parks. There's not too many. I don't know that it's a people thing, but maybe it is. It's slowing the pace at which the growth is happening as much as we can reasonably, I think is one of my biggest things, because I see the apartments. I know I've lived in, to be fair, like I have nothing against people who live in apartments. I've been married 14 years and 10 of those we were living in apartments. But I know that I was transient, that I didn't have an investment in my community, that I could vote. And I chose not to most of the time if I didn't know what was going on, because I wasn't going to be a permanent part of that community. And so I don't know if other people are that way. I hope that people don't vote if they're not going to be there, or that they're not like, we're going to sacrifice long-term for my short-term tenure here in the city. So there are issues that I have with that. I voted no on the bringing the front runner to Brigham. I commute to Salt Lake for the whole week, every other week. I take the front runner. I go drive down to Royd, take the front runner, and then I drive back. If the front runner was here, it would be more convenient. But I know what that could bring to the city as well, and it would change the dynamics of what it is.
That's a great comment, because the UTA was charging us taxes, and it was going for the corridor, which was never going to be built. We eventually got that taken away. So we saved you money because it's never coming here.
Right. Or at least not.
No, and to that point, the mayor's he understands that, and the smart growth it's important to all of us. He has hired some people that oversaw things like that, like our electricity director. He used to work down, I believe it's American Fork, and he saw the boom that went on down there. And so we have him here now, and he can help manage that growth here. The city lawyer, she's done a ton of work down in the Salt Lake area, and so she's helping us try and manage that growth here. So we have professional people in place that have gone through that, and they know the bad parts and the good parts. So I think that's a kudos to the mayor, that he's got people that I think are great for the city in those positions. Growing our power is a huge deal. So
water, we've already talked about water. We're the more apartments, again, I've probably said this a million times, more apartments, the more people you have per acre, whatever, in Brigham, they take water, they take schooling, and they take other resources. The roads can only handle so much.
Right.
My wife's already noticed it's hard to make certain turns in certain parts of town because there's just more people.
Oh, yeah.
I don't see that getting better, except for we have to maybe raise taxes so we can build more roads, or I don't know that.
Well,
the people that move in, based on what we know about the budget, is that we can't even raise the budget on the people that have moved in until like a year or two later because of the way that they calculate it. And so that's deferred. So that should at least slow down. But anyways, that's where
they do pay what's called impact fees. Whenever they build a house, they're impacting the system, and they charge a ton for that.
Oh, okay.
So they pay mark impact fees, they pay water impact fees, because they're impacting the system the rest of us already have paid.
That theoretically is going to help pay for the infrastructure increase that's going to need to take place.
Right. So we do have some of that. But yeah, we do have people that are in positions to help us manage that growth.
Mm-hmm.
And it is scary. I don't want Brigham City to be North Ogden or, yeah.
With all the amenities, talking about services, like it's nice to have a Panda Express coming in. We eat at Zupas all the time, Costa Vida. If you want a Costco, there's one in Ogden, there's one in Logan. If you want a Sam's Club, if you want to go to the mall, like.
And people always think that, why won't the city council, I wish this is another thing people would know, why won't the city council allow this business in, or this alcohol license, or why don't we have a Chick-fil-A or an Olive Garden?
Because our government doesn't dictate where Chick-fil-A's are made.
I know, I would have one of those never-ending breadsticks. I mean, come on. I'm a big guy. I love the breadsticks. I love Chick-fil-A. They won't come until we have the population.
Right.
And so
it's a trade.
It's not something we can even dictate.
Like most of our things in our lives, it's a trade-off.
Yep.
And are we willing to trade for the extra million people in the city so we can have a Chick-fil-A or whatever it takes?
Right.
I'm not, but I'm one voter, so.
I'm not either. Maybe someday, eventually, we'll have one.
Right.
Look at Manaway. They tried to put off growth forever, and now it's just boomed. And it's going to happen eventually. So managing it the best we can is the answer.
Right.
I agree with you 100%.
It's the line from Lord of the Rings, right? Open war is upon you, whether you would risk it or not. Growth is upon you.
It is. So.
All right. Well, before you go, let's see here. I just want to say thanks again to Brewbox for letting us record in here. If the audio isn't great, it's not their fault. That's probably me. I'm learning still. And then I want to say thanks again to Councilman Jensen. Where can people find you if they want to support you or contact you?
You can call me. 435-720-0669. You can text me. You can message me on Facebook. I'm pretty accessible.
Perfect.
And I appreciate that too. Like I said, I think everybody deserves an answer, even if it's one you disagree with. You deserve an answer.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Remember, everybody, get informed. Vote in November. It's coming up. We'll probably put a post out on the Facebook page to remind you, but you'll know. We get mailed out now. And then turn to the Lord in all things. Thanks again.
Thanks, Caleb.